Hello and good morning to everyone. Welcome to Kwerious V2 Get to Know webinar. We'll be starting shortly. Meanwhile, if you have not joined us on Kwerious, please go ahead and join. Just waiting for sound check confirmation if the sound is audible both on YouTube and Microsoft Teams, then we are good to go there. We'll start shortly. Hello and welcome again to the webinar for Kwerious V2. Today's agenda would be we will go briefly over what the problem is in today's modern classrooms, and then we'll talk a little bit about the motivation behind Kwerious, and then of course we'll start using Kwerious, and we'll jump right into some of the features Kwerious offers and how it can be used in your classroom. Sounds good. So let's move on. Uh, so let me begin by by telling you about a real story. So I was in my university in my first year, and I was going to my physics lecture, and when I entered the lecture, I saw there were like it was a huge classroom. So there were about 150 to 200 students, and it was incredibly difficult to even get to know anyone, or when the so I just sat quietly in the corner, and as the professor started teaching, I had a couple of questions I wanted to ask the professor, but as you can imagine, there was no way I was going to raise my hand in front of all these students. So I pretty much just shied away from raising my hand to ask anything, and later on just forgot about the question. And that is a very common problem nowadays for a lot of students, because in classrooms nowadays, student sizes are growing bigger, and because of that, students are finding it more and more difficult to raise their hands to ask anything. When we think as students to raise our hands, there are a lot of thoughts that come flooding to our heads, which could be as simple as, "Is my question stupid?" Or the whole class is of course watching, and we don't want to make a fool of ourselves in front of everyone, and it could be a lot of different thoughts that are going through our heads, and of course it could be as simple a problem with the accent. So we thought, okay, this seems like a very genuine problem. Let's go ahead and validate our problem with some students. So we surveyed about 100 plus students from different faculties in university, and we found that, but astonishingly, about 71% of them do not feel comfortable in raising their hands inside the classroom to ask anything. May it be shyness, may it be something, some other thought, or just afraid of raising their hands to ask anything. So I thought, okay, that is a pretty big problem. How about we propose solution for that? So we thought, okay, how about if you could ask questions but anonymously? And now, staggeringly, 89% of them are totally okay with raising their hands to ask a question inside the classroom. Okay, and then we thought, okay, how about along with anonymity, you are getting to ask questions in real time. That means while the lecture is going on, you can ask questions, and the professor can choose to address them whenever he or she gets time to address them. And astonishingly, now 96% of them are totally okay and are ready to ask questions inside the classroom and engage with the professor. And so we thought, okay, let's go with the solution, and that was the main motivation behind Kwerious. Kwerious is an online platform where students can get to ask questions anonymously as well as in real time. Since the questions are all anonymous, students can vote on the questions, and the most popular one gets to rise up the ranks. And so the professor can choose to address them first. So, as we talked about in our Eventbrite page and everywhere else, we will be demonstrating our the unique solution, which is our Kwerious desktop application. The Kwerious desktop application is something we launched in V2 this year. It's new, and with the application you will not have to switch between your PowerPoint presentation or whatever tool you're using. So let's go ahead and launch the tool, and you can see what I mean by it. So here what I'll do is before going forward, what I'll do here is open so this is just Kwerious.com on my web browser. So I can click on the three links and I can say open an app. This will prompt me to open the Kwerious app, and once you have downloaded it, all your Kwerious is inside your desktop application. And as you can see, the user interface is pretty similar to what you had online. So you won't have to learn a new tool just to get used to it. So here today is March 3rd in the morning, so I'll choose that lecture, and here it is. So once you enter the lecture, the most important thing you'll notice is this icon on the bottom right, which says pin the app. What this will do is it will pin your Kwerious on your desktop over whichever screen you're using at that moment. So let's say I pin it, and now Kwerious is on the bottom right. So now we can ignore this completely and go back to our presentation. So what you'll see is Kwerious is still on top of my presentation. If I want to use Kwerious, I can just click on the Kwerious icon. It expands. I can look at the questions and I can look at the queries that come in, and I can address them whenever I want. When I'm done, I can simply click outside to contract it, and we can move forward. So with that, let's move on, and I do welcome queries as I'm going on. So you will see how they will look like when you see a query come in, and how you can address them. I'll try my best to answer as we go on. So moving forward, so we already talked about our desktop application. So Kwerious also takes a lot of steps to make things easier. One thing we do is we make use of artificial intelligence. So what AI does is, whatever query that the student asks, we highlight the important parts of that question. So you as a professor or as a fellow student, when you have to read the question that came in, you can read the sentence much faster and get the meaning of the question right off the bat. So moving on, Kwerious also takes a lot of steps to integrate with existing learning management systems. These learning management systems are any popular LMSs like Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas, and so on. So any LMS that supports LTI integration, Kwerious can integrate into that LMS, and your students as well as professors would be completely verified when they are onboarding onto the Kwerious platform automatically. So before going on, I see a question came in, so let's see what the query is. So it asks, does Kwerious need a specific system setting, or is it as easy to use as it's in any website? Yes, it's pretty simple to use and straightforward. So Kwerious is just you can open Kwerious on a website. Desktop application is there only if you want to use just single screen and you want Kwerious to be always on top of whatever you are currently using in your screen. So whether it be PowerPoint presentations or whether it be anything else. So I hope the experience, as we talked about earlier, the experience is the same whether you are using Kwerious on a website or the desktop application. I hope that addresses the question, and oops, alright, sounds good. Okay, I'll mark it done, and now we can move forward. So some of the unique features that Kwerious offers is, of course, along with the ability for students to ask questions to professors, like we just saw here, Kwerious also allows for professors to ask questions to students, and we'll jump right into it in just a minute. So what for an analogy, you can see, if you have been familiar with tools like Hood or so on, these platforms, then you can see that these tools allow for different ways for professor to design questions and ask students, and that's pretty much what Kwerious also allows, in the hopes of becoming a complete platform, so you don't have to switch between different applications just to use different features. So let's first of all go into that, and here what I'll do is so I've designed a bunch of questions before coming online. So here you can see a lot of questions that I've developed. So let's ask one question to give you a taste of what it looks like for me to ask students a question. So I'll ask here, and I'll increase the time just in case there's a lag between what I'm doing and what's visible on YouTube. But you can address the question, and it's totally fine if you don't know the correct answer. Just choose one option. We just want to see how it looks like. And once it's done, I see here that no responses have been recorded so far, but what you'll see here is basically a bar graph, which will tell you how many students answered which option, and we also color and code the bar graph. So people who answered option 2 would have a green bar, and people who answered 1 to any other option would have a red bar, which is indicative of whether your answer was correct or wrong. One thing you'll notice different is we have a small indicator here which says tick and 3 dots, which is pending. So it basically allows you to understand that any question that has been already asked is marked with a tick, and any question that is still going to be asked or is pending to be asked goes with 3 dots which says pending. So coming back to the features, so one thing we have is you can ask instant questions. So just the way that I asked questions here, it can also go ahead and ask instant questions. So if you are delivering a lecture, if you come up with the question while doing the lecture, you can just straight away ask the question instead of having to go inside the platform, set up the question you want to ask and so on. You can just straight away ask the question, and later on you can go inside the platform and set the question what you intended to ask. So you can ask the question first and define later on. Similarly, we have GPS attendance. So what GPS attendance does is it checks if students are actually physically present in your classroom. So of course, as you can imagine, GPS attendance was designed before the coronavirus pandemic, but in the coming few weeks we will also have the ability to take attendance if students are just online in your classroom. The next is, of course, you can visualize metrics and statistics inside the classroom when you take the question like we just saw, and later on if you choose to, after going back to your office, let's say, and you can visualize how students are performing, how you can even visualize individual student performance, and you can see how you can improve that. So let's before I move on, I see 2 more questions come in. So let's see. The first one is, how many students can the platform hold? So right now there is no limit, so you can have as many students as you want. Yeah, so it's designed to be scalable. And the next is, can you advise if Kwerious has any limitations in terms of number of characters a question should have? Right now, I think the question itself does not have any limit. So you can have as many characters as you want, but be mindful that the longer the question is, the more time it takes for students to read, and the longer it is, the more space it will occupy on their screen. So you have to be a little bit mindful of that. But other than that, there is no limit per se of the number of characters you can have in your Aquarius platform. So okay, I hope I addressed that. So moving on. So for administrators, for university department or college department or anyone you want, the Aquarius also allows features for license management. So professor, they can choose, the admins can choose which professors can use Kwerious and how many professors and so on. So they would have complete control over the licenses, and admin has to distribute over inside Kwerious. Then we also have participation grading, and this is a unique feature where we use AI to actually suggest you a score based on the question that a student asks. So the score that we suggest is based on how the AI thinks how good their sentence is, and is it relevant to what you're teaching, and those features, as well as we include several other metrics like how consistent was the student in asking questions throughout their course, as well as how many questions they asked. And this, just a note here, this grading is just a suggestion. So you are free to modify whenever you want and to whatever score you want. And then we have multiple displays. So what I mean multiple displays here is sometimes professors like to have multiple screens instead of just one screen for delivering their lecture. May it be on a PowerPoint, may it be on a projector, or may it be just a separate screen if you are teaching online. So if you're extending, so what Kwerious does is it allows you to have a pop-up. Some I can show you here. So let me go back to the browser, and I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. So if you go here, one thing you'll notice here is there's a screen here called Open Presenter Screen. Once you click on that, it will open a presenter screen, which is completely safe to put on the projector or any extended screen. So what I mean by safe is this screen will never show or contain sensitive information that the students would see. So you are completely open to put this permanently on your extended screen, and you are safe to do so. So going back here, let me pin again, and we can continue forward. Some new features that have been introduced in Kwerious V2 are competitive mode for questions. So when a question is coming in, sorry, not coming in, but you are asking for students, so you can have a competitive mode for questions, so that students' scores are accumulated and they can, compete with each other. So this is the same feature as what you see in popular platforms like Kahoot and so on, where students get to compete with each other, and that creates a healthy competition, and they can engage in your classroom a lot. So of course, if you were joining us on Aquarius platform, then you will also know that you can join Aquarius without registering for the username or password, or without signing up. So this is also a new feature that was added to V2, but just bear in mind that this will even though this allows for everyone to join, you are not guaranteed to have a valid name or email address. So we allow two options you can choose from. You can allow your students to join anonymously, or you can allow your students to join you by registering. If they register, you would know that the email address exists and the name exists. Of course, if you integrate Kwerious inside any LMS, then you will be able to ascertain for sure that they are valid users. So before I move on, so let's see if I can get some answers for some questions here. Let me ask this and increase time here and see if I myself can answer. Sorry about that. Just giving myself a little bit of more time, so you guys can also take this time to answer if you want. Let's see here. So I'm going to in here and okay, I might have a little bit of hard time to actually find the find the link here, but I think I found the link and okay, let's see if someone responded. Here you go. So someone has been able to respond. Number 4, it is here, and you can see that the total number of students who have responded, number 4, is 1. You can imagine this to be a little bit of more visually satisfying graph if a lot of students respond, and you can visualize based on that. And number 4 is green because the number 4 is the correct answer. Similarly, let's go into competitive mode a little bit, and you will see constant confetti falling, just to give you constant feedback that you are in the competitive mode, and if any questions you ask from now on will automatically be considered in the competitive mode. So you can ask a question here. So let's see if I'll increase the time by 30 seconds and let's see if we can get some responses here, and I'll try my best to done as well. So we have 10 seconds remaining, so if you have not chosen an answer yet, please do so. And okay, we're done here, so let's go back and see how many. Okay, we got 2 people who responded, but unfortunately both these responses were incorrect, so the correct answer is number 3, and you can see that there are 2 sections. First is overall score, and the second is overall score is the score that is there for all the rounds combined, all the questions combined. And then we have this round itself that will show what happened in this particular round. That means the question I just asked. So let's move on to the next question. I'll increase this by 30 seconds as well, and hopefully we are able to answer this. So I'll respond to the question as well, and to be honest, I have no idea what the correct answer is, so feel free to choose any option you want. So moving on, so now we have 15 seconds remaining, and I'll demonstrate the stop just here for 5 seconds. So what you can do is you can stop here, and this will automatically forcefully stop the question before the timer runs out. So you can visualize, okay, both of us got the right answer this time, but I was a little bit slower than my competition here who got 400 points. So that's pretty impressive. And that's pretty much how the competitive side of the questions works. So you can see overall score and what happened this round itself. So moving on, so that's pretty much, you can keep asking more questions, and I think we have demonstrated competitive mode quite well. So now you can imagine you can start having fun inside the classroom. So moving on, so we got an opportunity to test queries inside different with different professors. One of the professors was Professor Andrea Phillips. She is from the nursing department at York University, and in her own words, she was able to completely transform the way that her information session used to work. So she had information sessions about the program that she used to teach. And earlier there were, students coming after the lecture. They would queue up around around her just to ask questions from the one. And now she could deliver the session where students could actually participate and ask questions while the lecture was going on. So we had a much engaging and wonderful experience with Kwerious. So that would be all. Thank you very much. And just to note here, we are offering for a limited time free versions, free licenses to pilot Kwerious inside your classroom. So all you have to do is just email us at support@kwerious.com, and we'll get back to you about the next steps and how you can move forward. So of course we are available for any training that you want, and we are available for in every way to give you the support for any problems that you might face inside the classroom. Would be all. Thank you very much. I'll open this for time for any remaining questions that you might have, and if the questions come in, I'll address them to the best of my ability. Thank you very much. Right. If no further questions, are supposed to. If no one has any more questions, then we can call it a day and have a good day for today. And thank you very much.